As we stated in our Geek Trivia, this week we are looking at an 80s British sci-fi comedy television series. Most of our reviews have been movies, but this seems like a great time to break into the TV show reviews. As much as I do love this show, I have to be fair, which means I gotta be tough. Today we are looking at the first 2 episodes of Red Dwarf. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Corner Reviews. As we open the show, we see someone painting a ship with a broom. Oh yeah, and totally mugging for the camera. Neither is really effectively done. It's hard to mug through a space helmet. Okay, so that's unique. We actually have a good idea of just how big the ship really is in relation to a human being. Wait. The end? Did I put in the wrong disc? Here we meet our 2 main characters, Lister and Rimmer. They have such a great relationship. One just trying to do his job properly, while the other does everything he can to irritate the first. While they bicker like an old married couple, we find out that Lister is the lazy, just want to have fun type of guy. And Rimmer is the determined, career-oriented, type A personality.
It's true you know about Rimmer. You rank below all 4 of those service robots, even the one that's gone absolutely mad.
Well, this is a lot for long, matey. Up, up, up. That's where I'm going.
Not until you pass your engineer's exam. And you won't do that because you'll just go in there and flunk again.
Wow, they really are like a married couple. Rimmer, sadly, isn't likely to be promoted, as even the senior officers don't have any respect for him.
Oh, Rimmer. You are a snakehead.
We're all gathered here today to pay our last respects to George McIntyre.
From a funny scene to a funeral, and a bit of exposition.
And he'll be missed.
The computer is capable of creating a hologram, but only one.
Albeit as a hologram.
I wonder if that's going to come up later in the show.
The more times you can bang yourself on the head without it falling off, the more intelligent you are. You gotta go for it.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Before becoming Arthur Weasley, the actor Mark Williams played a rather dull-witted Danish man, Peterson, in Red Dwarf. I suppose when you start off so low, you have nowhere to go but up.
Holly tells me that he sensed a non-human life form aboard.
Aliens? I'm betting it's aliens.
You got it all down, have you, Rimmer?
Couple of blanks, but I think we're there.
Wait, does that mean he has notes written on his genitals? That's going to be hard to sneak a peek at without somebody noticing. So we find out that the non-human life form is a cat, which doesn't look like it's too keen on being in the show.
Never mind.
I can't blame it. If I was going to have a brief cameo on a show like this, I'd try to run away as well. The captain finds out about the cat and wants the medical lab to dissect it to make sure it doesn't have any diseases or cause problems for the computer. Instead of giving up the cat, Lister goes into stasis, basically being frozen in time while the ship finishes its mission and returns to Earth.
Okay, Frank.
After waking up, Lister discovers that the entire crew is dead.
Wait. Are you trying to tell me everybody's dead?
Should have never let him out in the first place.
Or at least finally gets the point. Instead of spending a few months in stasis, it's been 3 million years. It appears that Rimmer was supposed to repair the drive plating, but didn't do it properly, so he killed the entire crew. He's not completely alone, though. Holly has brought back Rimmer as a hologram.
Hello, Lister.
So rather than being alone with just a computer, he has someone to annoy the hell out of him. While they are walking around arguing, a new creature pops out of the vent. Stylish and concerned with his grooming, the pair run into the creature as he does something to scare them off.
Fearsome. I was fearsome.
Oh, so 3 million years of inbreeding cats turns into Danny Don Jules.
Stand back, mister.
Wait, Rimmer went on for so long about how he can't touch anything, but forgets that to try and fight a cat.
Did you say Frankenstein?
Yeah, she was your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother or something. The Holy Mother? The Virgin Birth?
So cats not only evolved into humanoids, but they also wrote a Bible. And they have Lister as a god? Wow.
Yeah.
I know there are some insane religions out there, but to have a slob like that as a god has got to be rough. So Lister makes the decision to turn the ship around and make the long 3 million year trip back to Earth. How he hopes to still be alive at the end of the journey is completely avoided. But we get to end at the beginning. In the second episode, we get a brief synopsis of the story from Holly, who brags about his IQ and takes a dig at PE teachers.
With an IQ of 6,000, the same IQ as 6,000 PE teachers.
Lister apparently has a nice little bike, and the computers are developing some issues, like a lisp, and not being able to give the person what they want.
Good morning, Lister. How's
Oh,
life in hippie
look,
heaven, you
Rimmer's still around to bicker with Lister.
What's the plan for the day, then?
Holly gives us the basis for the episode. They're going to head back to Earth by traveling at light speed, which makes one wonder why they weren't traveling that fast from the start.
I'm a what?
You heard. Just get on with it. Very short.
Okay, Arnold.
So Holly, with an IQ of 6,000, decides to be vindictive towards Rimmer, giving him the opposite haircut than what he asked for. Because a man with a woman's hairdo, hilarious! You know, it almost feels like the actors weren't sure how long the show would last, so they decide to get their faces on screen as much as possible, even when it does nothing for the comedy or story. So come to find out, Lister is going back into stasis, not just while traveling at light speed, but for the entire trip. Rimmer isn't too happy about it, but how the hell does he think Lister's gonna make the trip?
Apart from the minuscule detail that I'm a stiffy.
Phrasing!
Yes, sir, I've been around. But there ain't no place in the whole bay like that good old toddling town. Oh, Lunas.
And all this for a surprise reveal. How careful did they have to be to make sure that the shaving cream didn't show? They enter Lightspeed sooner than expected, which doesn't faze Lister despite the fact that it was suggested that he should travel in stasis for Lightspeed for his own safety. While shaving, Lister notices something strange in the mirror. And no, it isn't the fact that the shaving cream gag didn't work because it was seeping through his shirt before the reveal. In fact, the mirror is showing things that seem to be happening before they actually happen, such as cutting his chin, Rimmer running in, and him screaming.
You can take 2 suits and that's it.
2 suits? Then I'm staying.
You can't stay. By the time I come out, you'll be dead.
2 suits is dead.
We find out that the cat is very vain and would rather die than leave behind his suits.
I've just been in the library thinking, and I've decided. Shut up.
We get more disjointed time as Rimmer appears to have a conversation that isn't in sync with Lister. After the entire routine, Rimmer comes back in and goes through all his lines again, this time actually responding to what Lister is saying. Finally deciding to ask Holly, they find out that traveling at light speed means that they are having future echoes. they get peeks into their future, such as Lister having 2 children.
Babies? I've never seen it before.
We get to see the Scudders, the little robots that are designed to help out with the repair work, which are basically little gloves on wheels. But something shakes the ship again. Apparently, Rimmer saw an echo of Lister dying, which is a bit of a bummer. But what about the kids? He can't die before the picture of him with the kids, right?
Hey, it hasn't happened, has it? It will have going to have happened, but it hasn't actually happened yet, actually.
Poppycock. It will be happened, it shall be going to be happening, it will be was an event that will have been taken place in the future.
To properly follow the preceding conversation, we recommend the Time Traveler's Handbook of 1001 Tense Formations by Dr. Dan Streetmentioner, available from the Megadodo Productions of Ursa Minor Beta. So Lister gets the brilliant idea that if he prevents the cat from breaking his tooth, he can prevent the future and hopefully keep from dying. He runs back to his quarters to stop the cat from eating his robot fish. But it doesn't go well. Obviously, Rimmer isn't good at imitating Lister. He sounds almost Scottish. Holly lets the crew know that there's an emergency with the Navicom in the drive room, which is right where Rimmer saw Lister die. Going to face his death with a pipe, Lister fixes the Navicom and...
I did it! I'm not gonna die! Ah! Ah! Dog attack!
Even after all the evolution, cats are still assholes. Coming back to their quarters, they see a future echo of Lister at age 171, which means they are still on the damn ship far into the future.
171 days.
He lets them know that it was one of Lister's boys that Rimmer saw die. He tells current Lister to grab his camera and run to the medical unit. But beforehand, Lister proves that he's going to be a dick to Rimmer for all his life.
I'd like you to meet your 2 sons.
So they make it to the medical unit in time to get the Polaroid of Lister with his 2 kids. And during the end credits, the Polaroid develops. Isn't it amazing what technology we wind up with in the future? Never mind the camera phone, boys. Polaroids are the way of the future. So that was a look at the first 2 episodes of the show Red Dwarf. It went on to have 8 seasons in the initial run, a miniseries called Back to Earth, and then a 10th season. Coming up next month, they'll premiere the 11th season, and have already recorded the 12th season. How much longer it will go is up to the BBC. The future of technology was unpredictable, and they really didn't have a clue. Even in the 80s, there were CDs and cell phones were on the way, like the bag phone that was featured in Saved by the Bell. The effects are, of course, very dated. The BBC just didn't have the technology to make something amazing. But we'll talk about some of the amazing things they were able to do later this week for 5 Count Friday. With all the problems with effects, technology, and continuity, it is still a very fun and enjoyable series. I can totally see why kids these days may not enjoy it. But for such an old show, it would stand as an example of what a low-budget YouTube video could do quite well these days. So what do you think of the show? Is it something that you are going to catch up on before the new season comes out? Leave a comment down below, send us a tweet, or a post on our Facebook page, and let us know what you think. As always, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some
Cheerio.
crazy and also lazy, then you should meet me and my friends. Even though we got
He really can't
money,
control his
show us
volume.
how funny, yeah,
Wait.
everything's better with them, with
He's a
just
deaf,
our
blind ninja.
We don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, originally played by David Ross, but then replaced by Robert Llewellyn when the character joined the crew fully. Crichton